Okay, so I wanted to talk about parallelism. So we've got some issues with than. You can use than if you've got an ER word or more or less. This is, what do I mean by that? X is more expensive than Y. X is bigger than Y. So you need a more word or you need an ER word if you're going to use than. Okay. If you don't have an ER word or a more word or less than, you need to use in comparison to or compared to. So let's look at this one. According to a report published by a US factory workers union last year, the rate of occupational injuries among factory workers was almost double in the 1990s than it is today. Okay, we don't have more, we don't have less, we don't have an ER word, so we can't use than. What should we change this to?
Was almost about the 1990s as it today's.
Almost as it is today. Let me see. No, it's not going to work.
According to a report published by US factory workers last year, the rate of occupational injuries among factory workers was almost doubled in the 1990s.
Compare.
When?
Compared
Oh,
to what it is today.
you
Yeah.
can't say when compared.
What would you like to say?
Like almost doubled in the 1990s when it compared when.
When compared to what it is today,
Yeah.
or when compared to today. That would work too.
Yeah.
But in comparison to, compared to today.
Compared to.
In comparison to, or just compared to. In comparison to
Hi, Jen.
what it is today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is it possible if we say the sentence like reading book is more helpful for children
Than something.
than
Mhm.
it means like for another example like reading book helps them more understand. We need to compare with something, right? We just not say. Yeah.
Correct. If you're saying, yeah, then it's obvious there has to be a comparison and you need to say what it is.
Yeah. We cannot use more, just only more or just only than, right? We have to use full the sentence, full the structure like more and then, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I see.
Okay. Number 2, young people tend to have better memories and their task-based focus can be effectively prolonged than the elders.
When compared to the elders.
When compared to the elders. Some people argue that there is no harm in working remotely and that it is equally productive than working in an office.
Compare.
Compared to
To
working in an
working in
office,
an office.
or in comparison to, either one. Okay, now the next issues are more subtle. These can be hard to spot, but there's a whole bunch here, and let's see if we can get through them. So the first one, it says the technology in big cities is so much more advanced than the small towns. What's the problem with this comparison?
It's such more advanced when compared to the small towns.
That's not the problem. It's not a grammar problem.
Mhm.
It's a meaning problem. What is being compared to what?
The technologies
Towns,
in big city.
the technology.
Technology is being compared to small towns.
Oh, yeah.
So it's an apples and oranges comparison. So you can fix this with one word. You need to add one word.
And the technology in a small town.
Correct. What one word could you put here? Let's say, okay, I'm going to write that down. Then the technology in, we don't need the, but it made sense in the original version.
Yeah, in the small town.
So is there any way we can use another word of the technology?
You can just put in.
Yeah,
Yeah, in.
Number 2, in fact, she reads a lot of books and is motivated and more confident in herself as well. Nevertheless, her vocabulary level is less than her age because her books are graphic novels and comic stories at a fairly low reading level. What's the comparison mismatch?
Her vocabulary level and her age.
Less than.
Right. Two different, her vocabulary level doesn't match her age.
Yeah.
But like she's reading a lot of books.
Yes, but we need parallelism in the comparison. So how do we fix it?
It's less than in her age.
I think you need more words. I think it's more complex than that.
Those. No.
Her vocabulary level is less than those her age. Then you're comparing vocabulary level with people.
Whose?
Then who's her age? No. Then what it should be
In her
at
age.
her age or for her age. Okay. So that's a more complex relationship. And then, okay, so the person who wrote this fixed it into what you see here, but this one has a problem too. They haven't fixed the parallelism issue. Look, her vocabulary level is below her similar aged peers. So we're comparing vocabulary level with peers. Now, This author came very, very close to fixing it. In fact, we can fix this with one piece of punctuation. That's all you need.
After level?
No.
Whose?
You just need punctuation.
Punctuation.
After beers?
You need an apostrophe. Apostrophe, because then that indicates her peer's vocabulary level. Does that make sense? This is implied. We don't need to put this again, but you need this. There's another way we could do this. Her vocabulary level is below what? That of her similar aged peers. And it should be similarly aged peers. Okay, what does that refer to?
Vocabulary level.
Yep, is below the vocabulary level of her similarly aged peers. That replaces it nicely. Some people hold the belief that educated people are more beneficial and productive for society than talented people who learn skills through their work experience, such as computer skills and business experience. And I am of the opinion that work experience is equal to or sometimes more valuable than educated people. What's the, there's a couple of comparisons here. What's the problematic one?
Experience and educated people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Work experience versus educated people. What's the easy way to fix this?
What work experience of
That work experience, that is
of people, or someone works experience, because don't have subject here, because they refer educated people. So the first one is just work experience. So we need to have the subject here, work experience.
Work experience is equal to or sometimes more valuable than not educated people, but education.
Yeah.
Okay, because work experience and education you can compare. Just like up here, we've got educated people and talented people. So that's a comparison too. Okay. The pie and the bar chart provide information about how old company founders were and how much they earned around the world in 2013. Generally speaking, it can clearly be seen that most founders were young adults, although their salaries were significantly lower than older ones.
So their salary and older one. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Salaries is being compared with older ones. So salaries and people doesn't work. What's the tiny little change that we can make to make this okay?
We delete older one.
Well, you can't, because then what's the comparison?
Lower than older salaries.
Older one's salaries, correct? Or you can just put the apostrophe in there. You can put older one's salaries, but it's a little bit repetitive. You can just put older ones.
Yeah.
It's implied that salaries is at the end. Okay, how about this one? 1/3 of both groups earned a high school diploma, although the 29% rate of female graduates was 3% lower than men.
Female graduate and men. So we can change like
Apostrophe less than men's high school diploma.
29% rate of female graduates was lower than men's would be better. The number of male graduates, then the rate of male graduates. Really, rate wasn't the best word. It should be percentage. Although the 29% lower than the rate of male graduates. Okay, number 7. In conclusion, due to a diminishing number of newspaper readers and for the sake of preserving nature, newspapers will no longer be as important as the past in terms of providing information for people. What's the awkward comparison?
People and readers. Newspaper readers.
No.
no longer be as important as the past.
Right, so newspapers is being compared to the past.
Yeah.
One word can fix this.
Compare to the past.
It's the same problem. Newspapers will no longer be as important compared to the past. If you're talking about time, it's got to be in the past. Important as in the past. Okay, number 8. In terms of video gaming, almost 85% of boys spend at least some of their time on video games, while a little above 50% of girls do so. Meanwhile, the percentage of girls who spend less than 1 hour on video games is higher than boys.
The percentage of girl and boys.
Correct. We're comparing percentage to boys.
So it's higher than
Boys percentage.
percentage of boys.
Correct. Either one of those is okay. Then the percentage of boys. Good. If you need to replace laptop components, you need to pay far more money than a desktop component because they are smaller.
You need to replace a laptop components. You need to pay for more money than what paid for a desktop component. What you paid with.
One word can fix this.
For a desktop.
Good. Right? Nowadays, elderly people are less respected compared to their parents' generation.
When compared,
Well, what's being compared? Elderly people with generation.
parents' generation.
One word can fix this.
Done.
One more time.
Done.
I don't think so. There's a couple ways. Compared to in.
In.
Well, okay. And another way we can do it is because we have less, we can use than. Are less respected than, but we need some more words here because we've got that same parallelism issue.
In.
Than in their parents' generation. Yeah, or we say than they were in. And the simplified version, as you said, okay. 3 more. People in big cities have more flexibility in their careers compared to small cities. What's the problem?
People and their career.
Mm-hmm.
When compared to people in a small city.
Yeah, compared to. And if we don't want to say people again, if we want to use some substitution, what could we replace people with?
Those.
Good. 12. The total number of postgraduates going into different jobs excluding full-time work was significantly fewer than the graduates.
Fewer than the number graduate.
Graduate.
Yeah, of graduate.
Okay. Anyway, last one. Anyway, I just moved to a studio apartment across from the library. It's a small unit, but it's got natural lighting and all the appliances are new. Most importantly, the heater's working. The only problem is that the kitchen is smaller than my previous place. Well, I guess I'll have to get used to it.
Is it smaller than in my previous?
Correct.
Yeah, right. In mine.
Than the kitchen in my previous place. That's right. Okay, good stuff.